Alright, so I thought today, my first video I did on this channel was about Silent Hill. It got a few views. I thought and Silent Hill has been on my brain, so I thought I'd talk a little bit more about it here today, and specifically the first Silent Hill game. So I'm kind of reflecting on these games as we get closer to the 2 remake and the rest that was shown in that Silent Hill transmission a year back. So I think the first Silent Hill game, it really, really holds up in my opinion. And if somebody's interested in kind of going back to, I know they classify this as psychological horror, but if people kind of want to go back and, have a go at these, first 3D, PS1, survival horror style games, I think the first Silent Hill game is a lot more accessible, and kind of, as much as I'm a huge fan of it, and a lot more interesting in a lot of ways than, somebody being, told to, hey, jump into the early RE games. Now, why am I saying this? Well, first things first is, I think, he's, Harry Mason, first if we go from just an accessibility standpoint, I think he's a lot easier to control than, like, a tanky STARS member. So I think someone can kind of jump in pretty easily from that perspective. I think that the graphics and the atmosphere and, even the stuff that was meant to be covered up by dithering, I think it really, really holds up and gives us really, really nice atmosphere, with what was meant to be done with the fog and the snow and all that sort of thing. So I think that those, flaws, if some people do kind of see that modern stuff as like janky and clunky, is a lot less apparent here, and it kind of more fitting with like an art style than it is with an early RE games. I'm not here to criticize the early RE games. I fucking love them. But, damn, yeah, I really do think this game really holds up. I think because the story, this was designed, Konami put Team Silent together to, like, go create an RE killer. And they made something completely different that is not an RE killer, but can kind of live alongside those games. I think the direction they took it and, sort of, going for this psychological, because they classify it as psychological horror, by going down that route and by, presenting the story in that way, I think this is kind of the best type of storytelling, in my opinion, besides just going, like, full-blown cinematic to the point where it kind of feels you might as well be watching a movie. I think this is kind of the best, exclusive thing that video games as a medium has a way of telling a story. They're telling you something that is, kind of removed, kind of third person. This game isn't Harry's story. It's about the cult. It's about the witches. It's about the priestesses, whatever you want to call them. It's about them. The monsters are a reflection of their story and what was going on with them. And Harry's a guy dropped into this situation. He's confused. All of Silent Hill is open to him, open to use the player to kind of run around. Obviously, there's a direction, but it's kind of basically all open up from the start. And he's somebody who's in a situation where he's confused. He's trying to figure this out. And he doesn't. Yeah, Silent Hill leaves a lot open to interpretation. A lot, it's designed for you to be a fairly short experience that you blast through a couple of times and maybe pick up different hints and more, ideas as you're playing through and as you're moving between Silent Hill and the other world. And I think that intentional vagueness, I think that intentional lack of clarity to be explored, it's a lot different to be exploring something like that in, obviously you can explore, vague topics and, you can be, supernatural and, psychological stuff in books and, the reader can really be exploring that. But when you're exploring that in a video game and you have the autonomy to walk over there, read this note, use this item, it really allows you to explore those ideas in a more intimate way. So I think in terms of the storytelling, I think that is still very modern. I still think that is still very groundbreaking, and I think that is still very engaging and thought-provoking, right? This isn't a game that is relying on its gimmicks and its gameplay. It's relying on its atmosphere and its, presentation of storytelling, which it, still does damn well by modern standards, right? By any standards. Staying on the topic of the presentation, I talked about the dithering, the kind of atmosphere and whatever. That being still, in my opinion, incredibly attractive, incredibly artistic. The music, that industrial soundtrack, that hits. The monster designs and how you can look at those and kind of being the reflection of, they are another avenue of telling the story. The monsters interacting with you, and how much you interact with the monsters, and how much you're able to take of the monsters, is down to you and the players. Because if you're running away and you can't look at them, then you're not going to be getting and seeing those elements of the story. I don't know. I think this game's great. I think the puzzles really hold up. The riddles, as they like to call them in the Team Silent games, they really hold up. So I think it's a game that the modern players can still really jump into and explore and play. And, hopefully with this, sort of current initiative to really press, Silent Hill games, Konami have not been shy about collections, whether that is them pumping out the Castlevania stuff, which has been great. They recently put out the Metal Gear collection, which has issues, but, at least we're getting these, you know what I mean? We had the Ninja Turtle ones, there's a Felix the Cat one coming, I believe. But, I'm sure we'll get this on modern consoles soon, so more people can dive in and experience it. And those of us who want to play it again can play it again without having to drag out old systems and whatever, because it's just inconvenience, right? So hopefully they're going to open this up to more people again, sooner rather than later. What else do I want to say about this damn thing? Yeah, it doesn't... I really do think, for a certain style of survival horror, the fixed camera angle is really, really important and offers a lot, because, it directs you to experience that horror in a certain way, and it puts those limitations on your movement and your field of vision. Now, this doesn't strictly have this, and again, it's not survival horror, I guess, it's psychological horror. But you do have a little bit of, mobility of moving the camera a little bit, and it still totally works. It doesn't give you complete control, so it still thinks things kind of tight on you as Harry. But again, it does, so it's not a full on third person over the shoulder or first person game where you've got but it does make things again a little bit accessible for these new players. If you haven't played this game, I can understand that diving into Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Code Veronica, Outbreak. I can appreciate jumping in these games with tank controls, fixed camera angles. You might see them as crunchy as hell. You might not be one to get in those. But Silent Hill, I think Silent Hill's like a book. I think there's a lot to explore there in terms of its subtext, and I do really think it's pretty much accessible to anyone. But if you're having a hard time, I think it's got an easy mode. I do think it's got an easy mode. I do think you can brute force through this if need be. I don't know, just kind of felt to come at Silent Hill. I'm sure I'll talk about it again. I'm sure I'll talk about the other games. I'm sure I'll talk about this one again. If you stop by, this is awesome. Please subscribe. Quest for 15 subscribers. Yeah. If you want to comment, I will totally talk to you. And there's a Telegram group below as well. Peace out. This was me talking about Silent Hill.